Welcome. It's going to take a couple of minutes for everybody to get into our workshop today. In the interim, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Rudy Garcia, and I'm an Executive Vice President of this company called Five Rings Financial. Five Rings Financial has been in business for about 38 years, and we usually have between 600 to 700 of these workshops every single month around the United States. What we have found out in those workshops is that there are basically two types of people that come to our workshops. The first type are people that have never ever been able to save any money whatsoever, and especially with what's happened this year, they're worried about having a financial future. The second type of people that come are people that have had the opportunity to actually save some money. Maybe in a savings account or an investment account, maybe they sold some property or even inherited some money. And what they're concerned about is learning how to protect that money. But what both of those groups have in common is they're looking for a clearer picture on A, how to grow money, B, how to protect that money, and C, how to access that money correctly when they need it. Let me get a little bit past that right now. I want to tell you how I actually came to work with Five Rings Financial. You see, 8 years ago, I was very lucky. I have a very good friend by the name of Jack Waldron that invited me to one of these workshops. Now, as a disclosure, I had been in the financial service industry for 30 years, but I promised him I would go, and he said it would be life-changing for me, and I went, and he was surely right. You see, I have a degree in accounting from the University of Colorado, and I had been in the financial service industry for 30 years, but that 1 hour workshop completely changed my life and taught me how to work with middle Americans and grow large amounts of money and how to do it and never ever lose any of their money. But going past that, I want to tell you a little bit more about me. You see, the way that I grew up is very much like how America is growing up right now, with a single parent family household. My mother didn't leave us and my father didn't leave us. My father passed away when I was 16 months old. My mother was left with 4 children. She was a housewife at the time, and she had to jump into the workplace. She worked 3 jobs in order to pay our bills and a 4th to pay for Christmas for us. Now, although I was the youngest of the family, as my brothers and sisters left the household, my mother started working a little bit less, but she still was always struggling with money. She actually went and got a job at a bank in Colorado, and she learned what to do, where to place money, but she never knew how it worked. To fast forward, between the years of 10 to 14 in my life, I would routinely listen to her in her bedroom crying, wondering how she was going to pay bills for the next month. It got so bad at one time when I was 14 years old that I opened up the refrigerator and there was a jar of mayonnaise and a jar of mustard. I had 1 pair of tennies, 1 pair of pants, and 1 t-shirt and a coat. Well, you know, at that time I told myself I would never ever be in that position again, and my family certainly would not be in that same position. Now, I'm not saying anything bad about my mom. It was just a product of the times. So I decided at that point in time I was going to get very interested in math and logic. And that's when I decided to become an accountant. So let's identify why you're here. It is probably because some of those same things have happened in your lifetime. Today, what I want to talk about are some 3 principles about A, how to grow money, B, how to protect your money, and C, how to access that money tax-free if possible for you. So let me tell you about the workshop that I went to now. It was the same type of workshop that Mr. Wilk, the gentleman who invented this Money 101, learned 38 years ago. He essentially went to this workshop and learned. It was called The Rich and the Rest of Us. And they taught some basic principles very similar to what we're going to talk about today. The first is something that we call time value of money. At this meeting, he was actually picked on and talked to by the facilitator. His name was Jim. And he saw Mike was in there. He was about 25 or 26 years old at the time. He asked Mike one question. "Hey, young man, why are you here?" And Mike said, "Well, hey, I'm kind of a financial train wreck. You know, I'm a college graduate. I've been out of school for 5 years. I'm on my 8th job, and I have $30,000 in credit card debt." Well, 38 years ago, that was an awful big accomplishment. You see, $30,000, if we fast forward today, is like $100,000 on a credit card at 18%. Well, Jim said, "You know, I don't know, but I think that's probably the worst story I've heard, but let's see what I can do. Let me ask you one question. And I'm going to ask you that question. Do you think you can save $5 a day? Everybody that says that they can save $5 a day, if you can do that every day for 40 years and get a reasonable interest rate, let's say 10% over that period of time, that actually comes out to $1 million. That's right, $1 million. Well, that sounded all wonderful at the time to Mike, but what he said all of a sudden was, hey, I just did some math on that. He goes, well, what do you mean? He goes, I just multiplied that times 30. Well, why'd you do that? Well, that's how many days there are in a month. And that comes out to $150. I told you I don't have any money. And he said, Mike, well, let me put it a little bit different for you. Can you quit blowing $5 a day? And when he put it to him that way, he said, look, let me help you a little bit more. What I do is I do something called a financial funnel. And at Five Rings Financial, that's exactly what we do. What we do is we take everything that has to do with money in your lifetime. We take a look at your budget, we run it through this funnel, and we take a look at things like your debt, your taxes, your savings, maybe your mortgage, any extra expenses, even your student loans. We run it through this funnel, it goes through, it comes out as very simple computation, and what we normally find out is that we can find between $300 to $400 a month that you are just misallocating. Now, I just lied to you. I want to give you that disclosure because routinely it's between $800 and $1,200. But if I started out telling you that, you probably would have turned me off right away. Either way, that $5 a day, that $150, if we found $300 or $1,200, you now have that money to start putting away. And you can't tell me that you don't because I found it. And here's the second part of that. We don't expect you to take all of that money that we found and use it just for your retirement. We still want you to live. Finding that money was fabulous. But all of a sudden, a lady raised her hand and said, hey, that young man's 25 or 26 years old. I'm a little bit older than that. I'm 45. Well, Jim said, that's okay, ma'am, because you see, money works on a three-tiered Tetron. You have to have some time to let your money grow. You have to have naturally a deposit to put some money in there. And then you have to have a rate of return, and that's what your financial service person is supposed to do for you. So although you have lost time because you're 45 years old, the one thing that I think you would agree with is you probably make more money right now than what you did when you were 25, and she agreed at that. So what I'm telling you is this: if you're a little bit older, maybe you can't put $5 away to get where you want to. It might take $7, $8, or $9 a day to get you to where you're in a much better position. Either way, there's a mathematical formula to help you. So now we've talked about how you can start to find some money and how little bit of money it takes to actually start to grow an account. Now we have to find out how to maximize that account. And it's something called compound interest. Compound interest, I'm sure everybody has heard about, but very few people know how it actually works. Let me tell you how it does work. Actually, you see this guy here, his name is Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein actually found the math computation to figure out how your money actually doubles. He actually said it was the most important thing that he ever discovered in his life, at least in his financial life. He said a couple of things. It was the eighth wonder of the world, and the second thing he said was, those that understand compound interest will learn it. Those that don't, well, they will pay it. So here's his computation right here. Take a look at that board. You see it's pretty easy. I'm sure you can do that. No, probably not. I know I couldn't. So what he did, he was also a great communicator. He actually broke it down to this. It's called the Rule of 72. And how it works is this. The rate of return that you're getting on your money, the percentage rate, if you divide that into the number 72, it tells you how long it will take to naturally double your money. A little bit confusing. Let me tell you what it looks like though. Let's say you go to the bank because you're a middle American and you walk up to the teller and you see a savings account, 0.25%, a CD, 0.5%, and maybe a money market, 1%. And you say, well, I better start saving. And you pick the money market and they're going to give you 1%. You give them $1, you're going to get 1%. Now we do the math. 1 goes into 72 how many times? Correct, 72. So what that is telling you is that your money will naturally turn to $2 in 72 years. That's amazing, isn't it? You know, if we were taught that before, we would probably not be making the mistakes that we're making now. Now that we have identified that people want a clearer picture on how money works, what we identified is that there is a problem in America, and that problem is this: our education system. You see, we go to school for 12 to 16 years and we learn some great things like reading, writing, and arithmetic, but we're never taught anything about finance. Consequently, we graduate, get into the workplace, and now we want to try and save some money and build a future. Unfortunately, the financial institutions give you no education. So what we did at Five Rings Financial is we blended the two. We're going to take you to school and we're going to teach you how money actually works. We're going to show you how to find money and educate you on how to put that money in accounts that are going to go up when the market goes up, and when the market corrects, you're not going to lose any money. If that interests you, I'm going to beg you to stay for a little bit longer. As a matter of fact, what I'd like to do is even entice you. If you stay all the way through this presentation, at the end there is an evaluation sheet so that I know if I am actually communicating to you the way that I should. But if you put your email on there, I will also send you a free book that changed my life. It's called The Retirement Miracle. So now that we've talked about the Rule of 72 and how to figure out how your money doubles, now we have to figure out how to really maximize that compounding. So I'm going to go through a little story with you because I want to let you know that it doesn't take a whole lot of money to make a whole lot of money. You don't have to quit paying all your bills before you start putting money away. Matter of fact, when you pay off all your bills, all you do is get more bills. So we're going to talk about, by looking for better rates, how you can actually maximize your money. I'm going to tell you a story about a grandmother that passed away. She had 3 29-year-old granddaughters, and in her will she gave them each $5,000. Now they're middle Americans. What do you think they wanted to do? Blow it. Exactly, they wanted to blow it. But Grandma stopped that. What she actually said was, you can't spend this money if you want it. You have to put it in an account and leave it there until you're 65 and you're ready to retire. Be careful what you do with it. You also cannot add any of your money to it, and you can't take any money out of it. You just have to let it work. So they're middle Americans. Where do you think the first sister went? Exactly, to the bank. She actually found 4% money right there. Now, 4%, we just talked about a quarter and a half and 1%. How does that happen? Well, it happens like this. Over time, we have to be fair to the banking industry. In 1998, 1999, the banking industry was given 11 and 12% for their savings accounts because they had to compete with the stock market. So over time, that 4% is actually achievable. So now we're going to use the Rule of 72. 4 goes into 72 every 18 years. So she's 29, in 18 years she's 47, it turns to 10,000. 18 more years, 65, it turns to 20. You see how that works? Just math and science. That's what I love about it. Now the second sister actually comes to one of our workshops, and she finds out that we have accounts that make 8%, 6, 7, and 8%. With a bonus, you can average that 8% all the time. Now this is where I was a little bit embarrassed about my education at the University of Colorado. The president of our company said, Rudy, give me that answer. I looked at him a little bewildered and I said, Mike, really? I said, I've been out of college for a while, but I haven't forgotten everything. They're 29 years old. It's $5,000. All I did was I doubled the interest. Wow, that answer is $40,000. Really? Now, I thought I was pretty smart at the time and he was going to give me the corner office. Well, he looked at me and said, we got some work to do. So let me show you what I mean. 8 goes into 72 every 9 years. So now from 29 to 38, it's 10. To 47, it's 20. From 47 to 56, it's 40. And 56 to 65, it's 80,000. Now that's a huge difference. Would you agree? A large or a little difference? A large, right. Now this is what I want you to imagine. What if Grandma gave him $50,000? Do you think at retirement $200,000 or $800,000 would be a big difference in how you could retire? Absolutely. So the third sister finds 12% money. Now people ask all the time, Rudy, where are you going to find that? Well, we've had it before in the late 90s and early 2000s, and we even had it 3 or 4 years ago. So we've seen it before and we're going to see it again. But the accounts that we're trying to talk to you about right now are accounts that only go up and never go down. In accounts like that, experts state that over a period of time, 10 and 12% is actually very conservative. But let's look at how that works. 12 goes into 72 every 6 years. So at 35, it's 10, 41, it's 20, 47, it's 40,000, 53, it's 80,000, 59, it's 160,000, and at 65, it's 320,000. Now, isn't that amazing? That's that same $5,000. Do you think if we were educated about that 3 or 4 times in elementary school, 3 or 4 times in high school, and maybe 3 or 4 times in college, that we'd be in a much different position? Why, sure we would. So that's part of our education problem. Now, remember when I talked about Albert Einstein a second ago? He said, those that understand it earn it, those that don't pay it. If you're living your lifestyle and you're putting your money in low interest accounts at 3 and 4%, but you're living your lifestyle on a credit card and paying 12 to 18%, do you think you're ever going to make it? Probably not. So, we just finished with another principle. I hope that you enjoyed that. Now, here's the thing, if you take anything from me today that I really want you to listen to. This is the one thing. The differences with what the wealthy know and the middle America does not know. And that's something called a taxable account. A lot of people think that the wealthy people can do things with investment accounts that we can't. That's absolutely not true. You see, they just have more money to do it. We can do everything that they do. And to prove it, I'm going to show you 2 accounts that are identical. One is called a non-taxable account, the other is taxable. Non-taxable is what wealthy people have been educated on. And this is how it works. It's called dollar double. So I'm going to ask you as a wealthy person to give me $1. And I promise you that I will double it every single year for 20 years. So 1 goes to 2 the next year, then goes to 4 the next, and then goes to 8. At the end of 20 years, does anybody know how much money we're going to have? Are you sitting down? It's $1,048,000. Actually, it's $1,048,576. Wow, that's amazing. Now, how does that happen? Well, the first clue is what I said. It's non-taxable. There's no tax coming out of this. So every year it's growing and deferring and no taxes coming out. There are also no fees coming out of this. As a financial advisor person or a financial service person, if I taught you this, I would expect to get paid. There's nothing coming out of this. So the person that invited you, you may want to ask them about that, because people at 5 Rings, we don't get paid out of your money. We actually get paid by the carriers that we deal with. Now, the thing that makes this impossible is one last thing. I cannot guarantee you doubling 100% every year, but I hope you understand the concept. Now, let's go to the other side, middle America. They say, Rudy, thanks for teaching me about compounding and everything else. But I'm a middle American. I like to put my money in accounts that I can touch. So we go to the bank. And that's a savings account or a CD. Those are taxable. We put money in the stock market. That's taxable. We buy homes. That's taxable. All those things are taxable every year. And I think you would agree with me that middle Americans pay about 28% tax on the average. So let's look at that account. You give me your $1, I double it to 2. That's $1 profit. We have to take our 28% out, or our 28 cents, out of that dollar profit, so it's 72 cents. We started with $1. 72 cents growth, it's $1.72. See how I did that? I doubled it, I taxed it, I netted it down. Now, we double that again, year 2, it goes to $3.44, tax it $2.96, double that, it's $5.92, we tax it, it's $5.09. Now, at the end of this 20 years, now this is one I really want you to do me a favor, and write it down, put it in your mind, and tell me how much money you think we're going to have. Now, in those 600 to 700 classes that we have every single month, what we find is that the average person thinks between $200,000 to $500,000 is what's in that account. Did you hear that? They think $200,000 to $500,000. Now, why would middle Americans do that? Why would they give the government, we just saw $1 million on one side, why would they give the government $500,000 to $700,000 of their dollars? It's very easy, because we think we have to. Well, let me give you the real answer before we go any further. It's actually $51,353. That's right, $51,353. It's only $1 million difference between what the wealthy are doing and what we as middle Americans are doing. Now, why would we do that? Well, you see, the wealthy have some great tools. They have a tax advisor, they have a tax accountant, they have a tax lawyer. What do middle Americans have? They have TurboTax, we have H&R Block. Now, those are great tools, they're just not wealth advisors. And that's why we're here today, is to teach you about non-taxable accounts versus taxable. So we've learned about how to grow some money. Now let's learn how to protect that money. Has anybody ever had one of these hurdles? That's right, in life. You're doing everything right, and then all of a sudden something bad happens to you. You know, maybe you get cancer, have a heart attack or a stroke. Maybe you start to have early onset Alzheimer's, something like that. And all of a sudden you actually quit working. Well, this is what our income cycle looks like. We work from 20 to 70, and then we have our expenses from 20 to 70. And hopefully it looks just like this. You're making more money than what your expenses are. And if you're lucky, in the middle, you get to save a little bit of money. Then all of a sudden something happens to you. You get cancer, and your income goes down. Now your expenses go up. You've got co-pays, co-insurance. Maybe what they're doing isn't working, so you have to go to another hospital in another state. And now your expenses go up. Well, when those two lines intersect, it creates a huge amount of debt. So I want to introduce you to another principle, another concept that is out there now. It's something called living benefits. If that was your situation and all of a sudden your income went down, your debts went up because you were ill, would you like to be able to access a line of income that would match your debt increase? And you can actually do that. We're going to teach you how to do that in something called living benefits. Now, here's the part where I may lose some of you, and I hope not. See, living benefits is built inside of a life insurance policy. And you're not here to learn about life insurance policies. We're talking about one of the basic things for the foundation of your wealth building. You see, that's one of the things that we also teach. We teach a foundation, we teach a growth, and then we teach distribution. But that's one of the most important parts of your foundation. The person that invited you, if you want to find out a little bit more about it, make sure that you ask them, because there's only 3% of all life insurance that has this. So we've learned how to grow money. Now we've learned how to protect our money. Now we have to learn how to access that money. So what does it really look like? When you're going to save money, there's basically two ways to do it. You can do it in a safe way, or you can do it in a risk way. Either way is going to be up to you. So a risk way is this. You might put money in the stock market, you might put money in a mutual fund, you might put money in commodities like gold and silver, or even real estate. I know real estate rates are going exceptionally high right now, but a lot of those notes are still on adjustable rate mortgages. And if the government lifts the cost of money, a lot of those homes are going to come back. So now let's talk about safe money. Safe money are things where middle Americans go to, and that's usually the bank. And if you go to the bank, you know that they have a savings account, they have a CD, maybe a money market. And hey, you know something else that's really safe is money under the mattress. Now, the great part about that is that you're not going to lose any money when you have a correction like what happened at the beginning of 2020. The bad thing is that you're not gaining any money until that point in time. So where do we go? Well, if I were to ask you if there was a magic wand, how you would want your money to go, you would probably say that, hey, I want some risk in there. I want to grow some money. Well, we can do that, but remember, risk also goes two ways. It goes up and it goes down. But I don't want to lose any money, but I still want to make money. What do I do? What do I do? Well, we have something right in the middle called an indexed account. Index accounts have been around for 30 years. A lot of people don't know it, and it's one of the greatest secrets right now that wealthy people utilize every single day. How does it work? Well, I'm going to show you a little slide here, and it goes like this. You basically are going to put money in what they call a protection account. For today, we'll say it's a savings account. And you can put money in many different ways. You put money in, you can transfer a 401 or an IRA. Maybe you have a bulk amount of money, like on a sale or something, or you can put it in monthly. Doesn't matter. But what you do is you put it in this protected account, and if you follow the stock market, the market goes up and it goes down and it goes up and it goes down. The great thing about indexed accounts is they follow that, except your money is never in the market. Never. So let's take a look at an example. Let's say you put money in this indexed account and the market goes up 10%. What we do is you put 10% in your income bucket. The next year the market corrects itself and goes down 8%. Well, in a traditional account, you would lose that 8%. In index accounts, they have something called a floor. So when the market goes up, you go up. When it goes down, you stay even. So that floor is 0. So when the market lost 8%, we just didn't give you anything that second year. Now the thing that makes this too good to be true is what happens next. The next year, the market goes to 15%. Well, historically, where there's a floor, there's also a ceiling. And historically, over the last 30 years, that ceiling has been between 12 to 14%. So for today, let's say it's 12. The market goes up 15%, we're only going to put 12% in your account. Oh, that's how you guys make your money. Absolutely not. What we do is we leave that money in the market to keep it healthy. So you see how it works? Now how about a practical application? Let's talk about you put $100,000 in a plan. Just $100,000, just a number, okay? And let's take a look and see how it works. The first year you put it in the market, which is the roller coaster, that's what I call it. Put it in the market and the market drops 10%. What happens in that indexed account? It goes straight across, right? The second year it drops down 10% again. The index account goes straight across. Well, that's not real exciting, is it? But is it a lot more exciting than losing 20%? Sure it is. The third year the market comes back up, and in an index it goes back up. It matches it. The great thing about index accounts is the money that you put in, you're contractually and legally guaranteed that you will never lose that money because of a correction in the market. And the money, when it's credited to your account, that also locks in. You will never ever lose that. The next year the market goes down, the index goes across. The next year it goes up, the index goes up. Now that bottom one in there, the roller coaster, isn't that looking like a roller coaster? Sure it is. And isn't the second one, the index account, looking like an escalator? Absolutely. My question is, where do you want your money? In that roller coaster? A lot of people are trying to get off that roller coaster, and it's okay to get off of it as long as you have somewhere to go. My suggestion is an indexed account. Well, that's pretty much what we have to talk about today. I want to thank you for your time. And for those of you that will fill out that evaluation and let me know if I have to change some things, I would appreciate it. Make sure you put your email on there and let me send you that book. Until then, go with God. I love you very much, and I'm very grateful. Please watch the Living Benefit video I have for you.
My name is Natalia Oliveira, and this is my Living Benefit story. I was born in Boston, but I was raised in Brazil. I'm living in Florida for the last 6 years with my family. I have 2 kids now, my husband, and a 1-year-old and a 7 years old. We have a company, me and my husband. We do countertops. We are self-employed for the last 4 years. Being a mom and a businesswoman, I have a lot to do, so my days are very busy. Dropping kids out in school, picking up, going to work, taking them to sports, coming back and doing something for myself, cooking dinner. Brazilians, we cook a lot every day, so imagine it's a really busy life, but I love it a lot.
My name is Rickson Amorin. I'm an Executive Vice President with 5 Rings Financial here in Boca Raton, Florida. I met Mark Conde, Natalia's husband, in a workshop. And then he mentioned, oh, my wife is actually looking for a retirement plan and also life insurance.
And he was talking about a product that has the possibility of investment plus a life insurance with living benefits.
So we set up the plan for the whole family.
I was on vacation in Brazil, and I started feeling some back pains that was not going away. When I come back to the United States, I went to my primary doctor. After about a month or so doing tests, I got the results. I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, stage 2.
A 30 years old will never think that you will get cancer, especially because she had a 10 months old baby. So it was tough.
But the only thing that I could think of the first few days was, I want to see this baby girl getting married. I want to see this boy going to college and things like that. So I will fight. Dealing with cancer and raising a baby, having a 7 years old who requires a lot of my attention and time, I start to feel the financial pressure. Of course, the bills were coming. We still have to pay our employees. We still have a company to run.
Obviously, I was concerned for her health at that time. But the type of cancer that she got, I knew that the cancer was going to be a survival cancer. And for sure, she was going to be okay financially because of the living benefits. A couple weeks later, we've got the notice that the living benefit was approved. Her policy was a $500,000 policy, and she was able to withdraw over $280,000.
It was a relief for our family to have that money at that time. Not only because of the medical bills, but it changed our financial life forever.
When we've got the approval letter, and a couple days later, the money was in her bank account, it was an amazing feeling. I think that money brought hope to that family. And that's very, very important. It's worth more than money, you know what I mean? So, because the cancer, it's gonna go away now, but the money, it's gonna stay.
The cancer, it's gone. Really soon, this is a page that I'm turning in my life. I'm not gonna talk about it. I'm just gonna see ahead of me. The living benefits, it pretty much took away all my worry financially. The relief was so big because we could pay the medical bills. All our own personal bills that were late due to all this.
She's not just a client. She became a really good friend. And we spent birthdays together, we barbecue together, our kids play together. And they're gonna still doing that thanks to living benefits. Because if it wasn't living benefit, I don't know what we will be today.
I talk with all my friends and family about living benefits because of its value and because of what I've had gone through, how important it was during my process. I was young, I was healthy. I had no reason to have a living benefit, and still, I'm glad that I did. I'm glad that I purchased the plan because it was such a relief in the middle of so many things going on, so many bad news, and it was a bright thing to look forward in my future.